We're live. We're live. And we're going to be live. Tonight will be the 9th Torah scroll of unity, representing about 3 million Jewish people that have thus far signed up to have a letter in the Torah. Each Torah has 304,805 letters. So, and everybody can have their letter in the Torah that unites us all together as one people, with one Torah, with one God. This is a project that the Rebbe started in 1981 to unite all of the Jewish people. And tonight, to bring the Hakel year, the year of unity, of bringing gathering of men, women, and children of the Jewish people together, will be at the same time the siyum, the conclusion of the writing of this 9th Torah, and celebrating it here in Montreal, in Chabad in Côte St. Luc, which we will have here. We had to close registration because there's over 1,000 people already that have signed up. But for everybody out there, Okay, having difficulty with Instagram. Give me a second. Let's see if that's going to work. Okay. So everybody can watch it from around the globe on Chabad.org. I'm putting the link up now. On Chabad.org, on Facebook. I just put it up. So tonight that you can watch it. Not certain how to do that. I won't be able to do that here on Instagram. Having difficulty. Okay, but do join us for this very auspicious, momentous time. We welcome a good Tov, Shavua Tov, a good week. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We welcome Rabbi in Morocco. Ooh, our prayers for everybody in Morocco with the devastating earthquake. Our prayers are there with you and everybody there near Marrakesh. Yeah. June is with us in Australia. Clem in Brisbane, Australia. Diane in Arizona. Roxy is joining us in New Jersey. Mordechai in New England. John, North Carolina. Davida and Liba in New York. Joseph is in New Jersey. Leah in Florida. Denise, welcome back, Denise in New Jersey. Eugenia in Calgary is with us. Rena from California. Welcome. Who else is with us here? Vaklas, welcome back from the Czech Republic. And Cindy in Florida. Michelle is with us in... Wait, you have to remind me. Tim in Texas. Ali in Pakistan, welcome. Carmen in Texas. Ingrid in New York. Chad in Staten Island. Um, Jane in the Philippines. David in Texas. Oh, a lot of Texans here today. And Beverly is in Florida. Lorraine in Pennsylvania. Melanie in Chicago. We have Adam with us in Indonesia. Michelle in the Philippines. Zaya in Eugene, Oregon. Lou in Philadelphia. Carmen is in Texas. Okay, I think I mentioned everybody. Instagrammers, we have with us Yenta de la Benta. We have Amit in Montreal. We have Razy with us. Rachel in South Carolina. Adam. Beautiful. Okay. Reminder, today is Sunday, so we have a double header from yesterday's class on Shabbos. And today's. We conclude 16, letter 16, and we go into the 17th. One moment. So if you're stuck in the desert with your friend and you have the one flask of water, and Jewish law says it's yours because you're holding on to it. You don't need to share it with your friend, because if you do share it, you'll both die. If you give it to your friend, then you're going to die. You can't do that because that's like committing suicide. So the fact that you have it means your life takes precedence because it's yours. That's what the law says. Now, that's the theory of the law. Of course, the practice and how do you know if you have enough or don't have enough is not the discussion for now. But the principle is that my life and the needs in my life take precedence over the needs of someone else's life. But that is only when they're equal needs. So when you're in the desert and there's no life there for you to have except for this one cup of water that's going to keep you going and may be your survival, so you're on equal footing because both people need to survive. But what if you're in a circumstances that I have plenty in my life, not in the desert, in my home. I have fish, I have meat, I have vegetables, I have everything that I need above and beyond, not just the basics. But in my community, I have people that don't even have bread to put on the table. Then we're not on equal footing. Then I am not a priority with my fish and meat. I'm a priority when it comes to bread on the table, but not fish and meat. And therefore, I have to take less of the fish and the meat in order that I can help that your brother will live with you and provide that for them. That's what Jewish law says. Chat itself is a beautiful sentiment. So that's being exacting on the law, that if I have enough only for bread on the table, my life and my family would come first before someone else in the community and their family, right? Again, that's when we're making the distinction between essentials and non-essential things, right? However, says the Alter Rebbe, and continuing with this thought, it would not be proper to insist on the letter of the law. So the letter of the law is, that if I have just enough bread for me and my family, right, essentials, and another family doesn't have that, so by the letter of the law, I will make sure that my family has bread to eat, right? But a person shouldn't live that way, says the Alter Rebbe. Rather, impose even austerity upon yourself, right? Yourself at least, right? And not demand by the letter of the law that I have to have my fill of essentials. He says, shouldn't insist on the letter of the law, even though that's the letter of the law. Interesting. Moreover, a person should be concerned because if you're insisting on following the letter of the law, so says the Alter Rebbe, meaning the letter of the law that, hey, I'm going to take care of me first and make sure that I have my essentials. Well, and you will, in other words, you won't go beyond the letter of the law. Share your bread. Share even though it's essentials. If you will insist on that, then eventually you will be brought to this matter itself, that you ultimately will also need bread for your subsistence, heaven forfend. In other words, when you're insisting on following the letter of laws, so God will follow the letter of law with you. And maybe you're not so deserving of that bread, the essential of life, the essentials of life. That's the first point. The Alter Rebbe is making an argument here in the 16th letter, in the conclusion of this letter, of why we should be so generous, even with essentials of our lives, with others. Furthermore, you should be generous, even though we're talking about having essentials, is because we all need mercy from heaven. We all need to elicit God's compassion for us. How do we elicit God's compassion for us? But when we are compassionate upon those who also don't have. And if we harden our heart by suppressing our compassion for that family that doesn't have, for whatever reason, and it's justified. It's justified because this is basic needs for your family or for yourself. Then you're suppressing compassion, then God won't be compassionate. Because how do we elicit God's compassion? When we're compassionate to others. It's a very high bar that the Alter Rebbe is setting and what it means to be giving, what it means to be generous, what it means to being charitable. Very high level. Furthermore, a third reason why you should be giving even in such a circumstance is that we're not righteous. There isn't a righteous person that doesn't have something that they need atonement for. This kind of charity will protect you, will give you atonement for the past and protect you for the future. As charity is an actual cure for body and soul. And when it comes to the body, of course, if your body is threatened, God forbid there's something wrong in your health, God forbid, then we pay all our money, even for bread on the table. We will put out that money if we know that this is going to bring healing to us. So likewise, when it comes to matters of the soul that we need healing, that we should be giving. And giving in this circumstance where by law I don't have to give, but I give anyways. The fourth reason is Because the Jewish people are called Ma'aminim b'nei Ma'aminim, believers, the descendants of believers. What do we believe? Then what we're giving to those who are in need, we're lending it to God. It's like lending it to God. After all, it's His money. We're lending it to Him by giving to the poor. And God is good on His repayment. And He just doesn't repay you in this world, right, for what you did. He will also repay you in the spiritual world. So you get benefit this world and in the spiritual world to come. Mitzvahs are not given for their benefit. That's true. They're not given for a reward in this world, except for charity. Charity, because you've benefited others, that will bring a benefit to you. And the fifth reason to be giving, even when we're talking about it's very difficult. You only have the essentials of life to live on. You don't, it's not extra. It's not from the extra that you're giving. But you still should be giving. For the fifth reason is because when there's a communal fund or a communal coming together to give for a specific cause, and everybody in the community or most in the community come together to give, and you opt out. You opt out. That's not a good thing to do. So here we're talking about a community fund, the Chabad fund that the Alter Rebbe was collecting for the real destitute in the land of Israel. And when you have in the community, people are engaged and involved in it, so you don't want to be the one left out, to be absent from the community, joining forces for the sake of this fund. And in conclusion, says the Alter Rebbe, may life be pleasant for those who give heed, and may blessings of all kinds of goodness rest upon them. Act benevolently, O God, toward the good and the upright, as is their wish and as is the wish of the writer, the Alter Rebbe, who seeks their welfare with all of his heart and soul. And with that he concludes the 16th letter. Extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. Even when it's so difficult, yet there's room to give. And today we don't live in such a situation for the most part, right? Who's just living on the meager bread of the day? Yeah. Anyways, a lesson for all of us. What's greater? The spiritual worlds? Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden? A spiritual world in the world of Bria? World of Yetzirah? Or this physical world? Where is God more available, manifest, real? In the spiritual realm or in this realm? Where's the greater connection? Good question. So we begin the 17th letter. And in this, the Alter Rebbe quotes from the Zohar, from mystical Kabbalistic teachings, that says that from an awakening from below, In other words, from within our hearts that we awaken. And we arouse in our heart the attribute of loving kindness and compassion for those that are in need of compassion. That arouses great compassion upon that person from the source of all compassion, God Almighty. And that brings as a result fruits of the deeds of the fact that you give to another. You're compassionate and you give to another. That arouses from above that bears fruit. Bears fruit in this world while the principle remains intact for the world to come. Let's understand what that means. So when we speak about the fruit, like the fruit of the tree is not the mainstay of the tree, and when one fruit is taken, another fruit will come in its place. So metaphorically, that means that there will be a flow of benevolence from the source of life, God, that will take a journey, so to speak, from on high, and will vest itself in this physical world in a form of things that, hey, we'd all like to have. A blessing in family life, right? Nachas from our children, great joy and pleasure from our offspring. Life itself, health, and livelihood. So by being charitable, we arouse and bring from the source of life. That is what's called the fruit. The fruit is not the principle. In other words, the principle always remains intact. The fruit, again, when you take the fruit off the tree, it's gone. But the principle still remains. The tree itself and the capacity of the tree to make another fruit. So the fruit is a mere not simple, I shouldn't say, is the lesser in the metaphor, because it's not the principle. So the lesser thing that you get is a blessing through being compassionate and charitable to another, is in this world a light of God that is contracted, that brings about, again, blessing, and the most critical things in our lives, which is family life, life itself, health, and livelihood. But the principle, the verse tells us in Tehillim, King David says, is that your commandment is very wide. This is in reference to the principle. So the word says your commandment rather than your commandments, plural. Why is it in singular, not plural? God gave many commandments. And furthermore, what does it mean? This commandment is very wide. What do you mean wide? Say great, say lofty, immense. Why? What does that mean? So explains the Alter Rebbe in the 17th letter that this your commandment alludes to, in King David's statement, to the one commandment, which is God's commandment of being charitable, the act of giving tzedakah, of giving charity. Why is that the ultimate God's command or God's mitzvah? It's because God himself in his majesty performs this all the time, animating the worlds. He's constantly giving to us, constantly animating the world and making the world exist and be. Right? And as it says, and they shall observe the path of God. And what is that? To do tzedakah, as the verse says in Genesis. That's the way of God. Tzedakah, being charitable. Again, God is constantly being charitable. We're have-nots. Mm-hmm. I don't have an energizing pack on my back that gives me life. God gives me life. Constantly. So he is gracious, compassionate, to give life to me, to you, and to all creation. So he's being benevolent, and we're the recipient of his benevolence, of his charity. Right? I hope none of us think that it's coming to us, that we deserve it. God gives it in his gracious kindness, compassion, but it's not something that is coming to us, owed to us. Important too. That was a parenthetical comment. So, since charity is God's path, it's his way, therefore, charity is a manifestation of the Ein Sof, of the limitlessness of God, which means Soiviv Kolam, the way God encompasses all the worlds. What does that mean, the way he encompasses all the worlds? So now we're going to go into an understanding of the light of God that is manifest in a contracted, limited fashion, as opposed to the light of God that is the infinite of God, that is not limited. When will that infinite light of God become truly manifest? Will be here in this physical world in the time to come, the times of Mashiach. And specifically in times of Mashiach, Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead. What does that mean? It means like this. I give charity right now. That charity is God's mitzvah, right? Because he's constantly giving. So I'm now giving. I'm arousing and initiating from here that produces an infinite light that will be ultimately experienced. Today I don't experience it. When I'm giving charity, that infinite light of God that encompasses me, but I will experience it in the future, times of redemption. That magnitude of that act that I do now, the infinite of it, it's going to be much higher than what the soul experiences when I leave this world after 120. Got a long time to go. Till 120. And what's the proof? Is that all the souls of the righteous that are now in the Garden of Eden, who have been there, some for thousands of years, they've been there. The prophets of old, Tanoim, and so on, and the higher level of Gan Eden, and yet they're coming back. They're coming back to this world, a soul vested in a body. In the times of Mashiach, in the times of the second time period of Mashiach, which is Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead, they're coming back. Why? It's because in Gan Eden, they are a soul without a body, and a soul there without a body. The mitzvah that they do here elicits in Gan Eden an experience of that mitzvah. But it is a contracted light of God, not an infinite light, a contracted that fills the spiritual realm of Bria and Yitzira, where the souls reside, and they have pleasure from it, right? As is signified by the fact that it's supernal Chachma, the first of the 10 divine attributes that gives life, is the source of life, because it takes from the Ein Sof, God, the limitlessness of God is the source of all life. It is contained in the vessel called Chachma, supernal wisdom, and it then is contracted on that light that gives life in every world according to the measure of that world and the capacity of the souls of those worlds to maintain or contain that limited form of light. What happens to the soul in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden? It delights in apprehending that divine wisdom, which is the secrets of the Torah. That's what's happening to the souls there. Wow, powerful. Yet, that doesn't compare to the experience that when that soul is having now, that when it comes back into a body, in the times of Mashiach, Tchias HaMesim, because then what will be revealed is not the light of God that it is contracted, that it fills the world like the water fills the cup, or the soul fills the body, but it will then experience the infinite of that mitzvah that was done today in giving and being charitable and compassionate in one's giving. The Soivev Kol Almin, encompassing infinite light of God that's limitless. As we explained in the first part of Tanya in chapter 28, when we speak that God is the encompassing light, doesn't mean encompassing that it's beyond, but it's from within, but not adapted to. Like here, when I want to put water, it adapts to the vessel that it contains. Likewise, the soul in Gan Eden, the light of God is adapted to what the soul, it's in its limitation, can contain and maintain. But in the times of Mashiach, the Messianic era, it's particularly the second time period of Tchias HaMesim, resurrection of the dead, the light of God will be an infinite light of God that will not adapt itself to merely what we can apprehend naturally as a soul within a body, but it will be beyond it, and yet we will experience it. We're going to have to wait for that, for Mashiach comes. And that concludes this first part of the 17th letter. All right. Any questions, any comments? To be the after 20 years, a soul leaves this world. Why is the first thing that we're asked is we're honest in business? Shouldn't it be asked if we gave tzedakah? Well, if you're honest in business, I think that you have faith in God and therefore deal in business honestly. Because that's the test. Is that with money and business, are we honest and do we give? So it's tied in with the giving. Yeah. Samuel. All right, thank you for sharing. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Vera. Are there 22 letters, and what do the 22 mean? Yes, there are 22 letters. We learned that extensively in the second part of Tanya, in the physics of the universe, that the 22 letters are the physics of the universe. They are the letters of God animating and bringing into existence everything in creation. Yeah, based on the letters. Absolutely. Okay, amazing. We have Rambam coming up. Maimonides. A reminder tonight that there will be, here in Montreal, chosen as the city to conclude the 9th Torah scroll of unity, of bringing together from all the other 8 before that, over 3 million people that have a letter in the Torah. And we'll be celebrating here. I put the link on Chabad.org. You can find it on Chabad.org and join us tonight. Look out for me. You'll see me maybe. All right. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zuch in Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing day, a good week.